SAMI MOKBEL, Watford should have spoken to Fulham before hiring Ranieri. Perhaps Claudio Ranieri knew what was coming from day dot. Maybe that's why he chose not to fully engage with Watford's players during his 112 days in charge at Vicarage Road. He was rarely seen in the training ground canteen, the central hub of the club's London Colney base. He kept his dignity and was gentleman to the very last, polite and charming to those he crossed paths with. But his heart wasn't in it, that was clear. His sacking on Monday came as no surprise. Sportsmail revealed on New Year's Day that he was heading for the sack amid doubts over his suitability as head coach. But the assertion that everyone knew the Italian's appointment as Xisco Muñoz's successor in October was doomed from the very beginning isn't necessarily an accurate one. News of his arrival was greeted with excitement by the playing squad, who were dumbfounded that someone of Ranieri's pedigree had agreed to join a club that isn't known for its stability. It didn't take long, however, for the penny to drop. A lovely man, a genuine Premier League legend, but not the person you want masterminding a relegation escape. Had the Pazzo family completed sufficient due diligence before appointing Ranieri, then perhaps they wouldn't be in this mess. Instead, Watford are 19th, having picked up just 7 points from a possible 36 during the Italians' disastrous reign. Watford's first phone call should have been to Fulham. Ranieri, 2 years on from his historic title win with Leicester, was appointed by the Cottagers to lead them to safety. A relative no-brainer given his lofty achievements. Far from it, as Fulham found to their detriment. 3 wins from his 19 matches in charge, Ranieri was relieved of his duties after just 106 days in charge. His training methods were old-fashioned and unenjoyable at Fulham's Motspur Park training HQ. His dedication left a lot to be desired too. He was out the door before the cones had even been collected, said one Craven Cottage source involved during Ranieri's dreadful spell in charge. There may well be an element of humor about that quip, but it certainly wasn't a laughing matter at the time, as Fulham suffered relegation. Had Watford taken the time to make a call, perhaps they'd not be learning the hard way now. Indeed, it seems Ranieri's methods haven't changed much since then. Perhaps he's just a delegator. There's nothing wrong with that. Sir Alex Ferguson often empowered his backroom team with tasks that would fall under his remit. But when you're in a relegation battle, players want to know their manager is as invested as they are. Ranieri, rightly or wrongly, didn't portray that impression. His penchant of making a quick getaway from work remained, as did his archaic training sessions. It was probably hard to bond with the players because he was never there, said one Watford insider. His man management was said to be questionable as well. His failure to explain to players why they had been dropped was a particular gripe amongst the squad. There are obvious mitigating factors, of course. The club's recruitment has been poor, that is unquestionably the key factor behind their poor season so far. Ranieri also inherited a squad notorious for being fractious, though claims that the dressing room is toxic have been described as exaggerated. There are said to be 1 or 2 players whose egos are rubbing teammates up the wrong way, and while morale at the club is clearly low, that has been put down to poor results than anything more sinister. The Italian's last stand came on Friday night as he watched his team capitulate at home to Norwich. Ranieri addressed his players in the dressing room before captain Moussa Sissoko had his say in the hope of galvanizing the team, but by then the damage was done. The Pazzo family don't take kindly to embarrassment. The doubts that surfaced at the start of January had crystallized. Sportsmail understands that Watford were ready to dismiss Ranieri had they lost to Burnley last Tuesday night, a game that was postponed.